Ineffa is the brand new character coming to Genshin Impact 4 version 5.8, and she has finally been officially drip marketed. She is officially our first Nod Cry character, and is bringing the brand new reaction Lunar Charged to Genshin Impact. We've covered all of this already in my previous video, but we're going to go over it again because there are big changes in her kit that we did not know about that make her way stronger than she was. And of course, the big Neuvillette buff that we all know he needed. Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. Throughout this video, whenever I am referencing calcs done, they are primarily done by my friend Flip. He is always linked in the description. Thanks to him so much for letting me use his calcs, and they've been verified by another creator, Vomfi. I don't know if Vomfi has a YouTube. I think he might be right here, possibly. But regardless, go subscribe to Flip and thank him for the calcs. All right, first going over everything here. Ineffa, Boom Boom Thunderwave, multifunctional robot for domestic application. First of all, looking at her design, I know a lot of people have said, oh, I don't like her colors. She doesn't look like Electro. She doesn't look like she's a Genshin Impact character, blah, blah, blah. Personally, I love me some variety. Her design language to me fits right in with what we have in Genshin Impact. She kind of looks like Mondstadt, but more steampunky, like Mondstadt mixed with Fontaine to me, which I think is just a really good look. If you've seen her animations, they're really cool. I like her a lot. I like some different stuff. Is it like my preferred perfect type of a design? No, but personally, I love variety. A lot of people didn't like Varessa either. I just like variety. I think different people have different tastes, and so it's good to have something like this that's just a bit different from the stuff we have in Genshin already, while in my opinion still fitting well within the world and the design language. At least that's my opinion, but if you don't like your design, you know, I totally get it. The red and blue is definitely like a bold, you know, the primary color choice. It kind of reminds me of that island we got in the last summer event. What was that island called? No, not that one. Last year's one with Duran. Simulanka. To me, she gives me big Simulanka vibes with the primary color scheme and like the little robots running around and like the gears and everything like that. To me, she very much fits with Genshin Impact. So I don't know, but I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments. Throughout Teyvat's history, humankind has made many attempts to mimic the complex workings of life using mechanisms and gears. Giants forged of steel carved out of the lands of Conria, while the Lord Artificer ushered in a new age with clockwork contraptions. Yeah, and also, like, we've had Ruin Guards since the beginning of the game. I'm surprised we haven't gotten robots. Like, that's actually shocking. Perhaps through the eyes of some maniacs, humans themselves are no more than machines built of bone and flesh. If we turn our gaze to creators outside of humanity, if the boundaries are drawn at creations beyond mere machinery, gods walked into the primordial sea, and sinners cast themselves into the abyss, while the ancient king of dragons engraved mind and soul into phlogiston. Maybe it was done out of compassion or ambition, perhaps even the pursuit of eternal sovereignty, or a desire to rebel against fate. Compared to that supreme wisdom and power, this workshop is naught but a patchwork paradise, cobbled together by a lonely child. I wonder who built her? That's a really good question. Compared to that magnificent destiny and design, Ineffa was created as the vessel for no such lofty expectations. At least on the eve of her reactivation, her purpose is simple. Reactivation. Who built the original Ineffa? Her purpose is simple: to serve as a companion. Okay? I like that lore. That's really cool. First, you must acknowledge that Ineffa is the very best robot in the world. Then, you need to respect Ineffa's opinions and decisions. Also, you have to accept that the no, that's not right. Accept that Ineffa has the final say in everything she does. I know, in Ineffa's external deployment and support agreement. That's good. Respect robot rights. Robots have rights too. Agreed. It's been several years since she left. I wonder if she's still following her own path. Did Mother feel the same way when I left on my journey all those years ago? Unknown author, from an ancient journal unearthed in Natlan. So is she originally, so she's a robot from originally made in Natlan and then reactivated in Nod Cry? Is that what they're trying to say? Name Ineffa. Title, Boom Boom Thunderwave. Multifunctional robot for domestic application. Electro, Constellation, Vanilla Planifolia. Vanilla Planifolia. It is a vanilla plant. Fascinating. I wonder what kind of lore we're going to get for her that makes sense of vanilla. Here we can see her signature weapon is the Buzzsaw, Really cool signature weapon, by the way. And yeah, looking at I like the plus and minus on the legs. I don't know. I just think she has a cool design. Is she someone that I would get if I was not a content creator? I think I would probably not be like crazy excited for her design, but I think she looks good. Okay, now we'll go over to what we have before so we don't have to repeat everything I said before. She is still an Electro Polearm character, still Electro Shielder. Her skill still applies Electro fairly frequently and deploys a shield. Her burst still just does damage. Her normal attack still does nothing. Her first passive turns regular Electro Charge into Lunar Charge. All of this is still true. Her second passive buffs EM. She still scales with attack, still uses tenacity, etc., etc. The only difference, or the big difference, that she has now that we didn't know before was that passive or talent damage, I'm not sure which one it is, that deals lunar charge damage, ignores defense. Is it defense or defense? I never know. So that is big. And additionally, it does 3 times the base damage. Why does it work like that? I don't know. It doesn't say that in her kit. That's just how it works for some reason. So because of this, it completely changes how strong she is. She was originally looking pretty decently strong, but just like, okay. Now she's looking like she has the highest off-field damage that we have of any character, which, to be clear, is not game-breaking in and of itself. I know that sounds kind of crazy, the highest damaging off-fielder in the entire game, but most of the time, the characters that we have in the game do more than just do damage. And if you're wondering what it means to ignore defense, it is a very powerful stat. There's not very many things in Genshin that ignore defense. Raiden's Constellation 2 is one. It's the reason why Raiden's Constellation 2 is really important. But essentially, it's just going to be more damage. Like, there's nothing like, I don't know, like I could go into the formula of how it works, but really it just translates into more damage. And because it's not like she's like buffing other characters to ignore defense, it's just her own, then it's just that. So what does this actually mean in terms of her teams? Well, that's where it gets interesting. This is what I had for the previous teams that I was looking at last time. And so it's looking like some of the teams I cooked up are going to be better than I thought, and some of them are going to be worse. So what is worse? Well, Electro Charge Standard is going to be worse than I thought, which is kind of depressing because when we look back here, it uses the stats of 3 characters to calculate the damage. And this Lunar Charge can crit. What does that mean? It means it's going to have to look at the characters applying elements for the reaction and apply crit and damage based on that character's crit. So what does that mean? Well, your electrocharge characters are built with EM, not with crit, so this is worse than we thought. Unfortunately, the electro carry teams are still looking okay. The Hyperbloom and spread teams are looking even worse than I thought. Because yes, she will probably be an upgrade to Hyperbloom and Spread because she's kind of just like kooky but has a shield. Her personal damage is going to be very neutered on these teams because a bunch of these characters, well, because she won't be able to build crit, essentially. So it's not worse than I thought. It's not worse than I thought. It's the same as I thought because you're still building the Hydra unit on crit. You're still building, you know, potentially the other 2 Dendro units on crit. So like, it'll be a small upgrade to Hyperbloom. I'm interested into seeing the calcs because it won't be worse. Right? It won't be worse. Kuki does literally nothing aside from activating Hyperblooms, whereas Ineffa, she'll give a small EM buff, she'll do a small amount of damage, so it can't be worse. It'll be a Hyperbloom upgrade. I just haven't seen calcs onto how much of an upgrade it will be, but because her damage and her buffing is based on her attack, and she will have to build EM, not attack, it's not going to be a massive upgrade. Like, it's not going to change the game. Plus, you will be required to not use Farina, because normally Kuki is your healer, and Ineffa is a shielder, which doesn't heal. So all in all, I'm not sure if it will actually end up being any sort of upgrade that's meaningful for Hyperbloom. Electro Carry, she's currently looking like a small upgrade to the Double Hydro Electro Core, but not a massive upgrade. You still have to run Shalonen or Kazuha, and you have to drop either Farina or Yelan, and both of them contribute highly to the team damage. So overall, it's just not massive. It's not massive. It's going to be slightly better, but it's still going to be worse. It'll probably be a bigger upgrade for Raiden than Cloran because Cloran's Overload is still going to be her best team, whereas Raiden Double Hydro is pretty much her best team. So Ineffa being a bit of an upgrade will be an upgrade for her. So it's solid, but not that great. But I think it will be one of her use cases. The next one is Overvape. So in particular, Arlecchino Overvape is looking pretty good. I think that this is looking like her best non-Citlali team. It won't be breaking the game in terms of outpacing Arlecchino's Citlali team. It's currently calcing lower than Melt, but I think higher than her other stuff. So again, I don't know if you go out and get Ineffa for this purpose. We'll have to test it and see, and maybe there's more changes throughout beta, but it is a shielded team that requires no VV setup. That's just should be very easy to play, arguably easier than Melt. I mean, you still have to vaporize, but your damage is more spread out, so I think it will overall be a solid option. And then, of course, we come to the real sauce, the real meat and potatoes. The best team that Ineffa has is, of course, Neuvillette. Of course it is. Of course it is. This is looking currently like Neuvillette's best team, or at least right exactly in line with the Skirk version of Neuvillette Escoffier, while also utilizing Neuvillette's C1 and his weapon because he's doing more personal damage. So higher investment Neuvillette's will use this team a lot better. On top of that, Constellation Zero Neuvillette's will like this a lot because you have a shielder. So yeah, Neuvillette is really winning. Should you go out and get Ineffa for your Neuvillette? That's hard to say right now. He's looking like he can crack 100k DPS with this team. So I kind of think it might be worth it, especially if freeing up Xilonen is useful for your other character, or if you don't have Xilonen yet. I could kind of see this being kind of worth it, to be honest. It's a bit, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't seen calcs of Kazuha versus Xilonen in this last slot. I think both will work well. I think it'll be easier to double swirl. I think Kazuha might do more damage. I'm not 100% sure which one will do better. I've only seen the Kazuha version calced. I'm sure Xilonen will do fine. And I'm sure other characters will do fine too. I'm sure Sucrose will do fine. I'm sure like it's not if you don't have Kazuha here. But yeah, this team is looking very, very good. So all that being said, what about the future? So Ineffa is enabling this new reaction, Lunar Charged. The thing is, she's buffing EM, but not like a crazy amount. It seems to me she has more in common with someone like Emily, who deals burning damage, than she has with someone like Escoffier. Because Escoffier is not only doing a ton of damage, she's a cracked buffer and healer, which enables Farina. Whereas Emily, you know, Ineffa is a shielder who does cracked damage and does buff, but she's like kind of in the middle, right? She buffs more than Emily, but a lot less than Escoffier. So she's definitely like a good character, but not super crazy. And I do think that there will definitely be some Nodcry character that is hopefully coming out in 6.0 that we get pre-release information on while Ineffa's banner is still live, so you can decide whether going for Ineffa for a future character would be worth it. But at this time, no other future characters as of yet. So I can't in good conscience recommend going for Ineffa when we don't know how actually good she'll be with those new units. There's just no way to know. Some people claim on some pre-release information for early characters coming out in 6.0 that will use Ineffa. I think that's likely. It's what happened with Emily, but I think it's also likely an educated guess. I don't think we have any reliable pre-release information for 6.0 characters at all as of yet. It's possible they're reliable, but with how it's looking, it doesn't look reliable to me. So for now, if you're a Neuvillette main, and this seems like a team that will work well for you, I think this could be worth it. And otherwise, I would hold off. Basically, that's basically what I'm kind of thinking right now. If you have C1 Neuvillette and you're happy with Xilonen and Kazuha and you don't need Xilonen or Kazuha on the other side, then you can just stick with Neuvillette. If you have Escoffier Citlali and you're not using Escoffier Citlali on the other side, then you can just stick with that. But because Ineffa does replace a very valuable character on this team in Xilonen, I do think she is not the worst pull for a Neuvillette account. And that's sort of where I see her biggest value being right now, a strong increase in DPS while also providing a shield. And the final team that I heard Zajef talk about is Carry Ineffa. And so that's where you use something like Yelan, Bennett, Ineffa, Farina, maybe, something like this, and you on-field Ineffa. And I saw calcs on it from Flip, and it just wasn't that insane. It's just not that great. It's like, okay, it's like solid. You are benefiting from standing in Bennett's circle, but it's not good enough to really be worth doing. And the final thing I want to talk about is that Ineffa doesn't have a dedicated artifact set right now, which is something that she will surely get with 6.0 and Nodcry. I'm fairly convinced that they'll make some sort of lunar reaction based artifact set that will work for all Nodcry characters, as the first patch of a region has already done. Right now she's using Mari Shisei, which is good, but it makes her really lack in like 4-star weapon options aside from like deathmatch. Gives too much crit rate, so that's really, you know, sketchy. So the damage that she's doing is just not nearly as high as it could be if she had a dedicated artifact set or a generalist weapon, because, you know, her damage, it isn't burst damage, it isn't skill damage, she doesn't need ER, she doesn't need EM, it's just damage. So like stat stick weapons, like stat stick stuff is like the only good stuff right now. Like if you have a weapon that deals, like increases skill damage, it's like not as crazy. This might be another character that uses Calamity Queller well, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Like aside from her signature weapon, because she doesn't heal, so she can't use Escoffier's. 12% elemental damage bonus. Yeah, Calamity Queller is going to be cracked on her. Calamity Queller just keeps on winning. That's actually so hilarious. But let me know if you're excited for Ineffa. Let me know if you think we're going to get some changes throughout beta. Keep in mind, this is obviously early beta stuff, and she will likely evolve and improve or get worse throughout the beta and with other future characters and future changes. But let me know your thoughts. Subscribe if you want to see the future coverage on Ineffa and Nodcry. And if you don't want to do that, that is totally fine. Just watching the video has been more than enough. Thanks so much. Bye for now.